All right, everyone, welcome to Strictly Sports. I'm Jacob Brown. Today we're going to do our Kansas City Royals 2020 season preview. Last season they were 59 and 103, and joined here with Stephen Cashin. We're here for our Kansas City Royals pod. Let's do our adds and subtractions first, then we'll go into lineup, bench, rotation, bullpen, and prospects. So they lost Cheslor Cuthbert, third baseman, kind of a guy, bench player, what didn't really get the reps that he should have, and now he's with the White Sox. They lost outfielder Jorge Bonifacio to the Tigers as well. Then on minor league deals, they agreed to terms with infielder Matt Reynolds, who may or may not make the major league roster, and starting pitcher Braden Shipley. Minor league deals may or may not make rosters. But a key minor league deal here, I actually really like this. Greg Holland is back after winning a World Series with them. They're giving him another chance. This is a dude that has struggled for a number of years now since those World Series years. Kudos to the Royals for giving him another chance here. They also added third baseman Maikel Franco from the Phillies. They traded for Chance Adams from the Yankees, who used to be a starting pitcher prospect for them. And then they re-signed Alex Gordon and Jesse Hahn. So let's look at that starting lineup. Leading off and playing center field, Whit Merrifield. Again, I say this all the time. I really respect guys that play 162 games. Whit Merrifield did. 16 homers, 74 ribbies, 340 WOBA, 110 weighted run created plus with 20 steals. Really all-around 5-2 player. I like him a lot. Adalberto Mondesi, the shortstop, 102 games, 9 homers, 62 ribbies, 298 WOBA. So he definitely struggled. Year before, though, in 75 games, 341 WOBA. Maybe if he can meet in the middle, he'll be a pretty average shortstop. DH Jorge Soler. This is a dude, used to be a prospect with the Cubs. He finally broke out this year. Another dude that played 162 games, 48 home runs, 117 RBIs. Really incredible season. 378 weighted on base, 136 weighted run created plus. Really like that guy a lot. Hunter Dozier, right fielder, played 139 games, 26 home runs, 84 RBIs, 360 WOBA, and a 124 weighted run created plus. Another guy, really young, like him. Alex Gordon, this is a guy I respected. He really struggled in 2018. He's a vet, and he came back in 19 and 150 games, 13 homers, 76 RBIs, a 319 WOBA. Catcher Salvador Perez basically missed 2019. In 2018, 27 home runs, 80 RBIs with a 304 WOBA, 89 weighted run created plus. So a below league average offensive player. Then they have first baseman Ryan O'Hearn at first base. 105 games, 14 home runs, 38 ribbies, really low WOBA, 278. But in the minor leagues, in 35 games at AAA, 400 WOBA, 130 weighted run created plus. And then in the big leagues the year before in 44 games, he had a 398 WOBA. So maybe he just had a really bad spurt at the major league level and he could rebound. Maikel Franco, third baseman from the Phillies. This is a dude up and down. It's literally every other year with this guy. 2017, well below league average. 2018, he was way above. 2019, way under. So this is a guy up, down, up, down. And they have Nicky Lopez, second baseman, batting ninth. Basically a contact hitter, very low power numbers, 25 years old, and he struggled in the big leagues last year. And then they have Ryan McBroom, Bubba Starling, Brett Phillips on the bench. So, Steven, you look at this Royals lineup. Listen, you got Soler and Dozier in there with massive power, and then, kind of some nice periphery guys as well. How do you look at this Royals lineup?
Yeah, this is definitely their strength of their whole roster. If you're going to look to win games and try to improve, you're going to have to lean on your offense. And you look at guys like you said, you got Soler. I mean, hats off to him. 162 games. If you can do that still in today's game, you have one of the most respected players in all the game, because most guys like to take days off. This guy, prides himself on coming and playing every day. 48 homers, 117 RBIs, average is 265, but the weighted runs created plus is a 136, well above league average. And, Hunter Dozier, too, you got the 3-4 spot right there. 26 homers, 84 RBIs, 124 weighted runs created plus. So, got really two good, cornerstones right there in the lineup. And you look at two guys who are still standing from the World Series roster. Alex Gordon and Salvador Perez. So you have cornerstones in this lineup that can, really, you can score runs. You can. You just got to work on the pitching side. But I like this lineup. They've got 1 through 4 or 5 really solid, Does Salvador Perez bounce back after having kind of being injury ridden a little bit last couple of years? But overall, he plays a really good game behind the plate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is a lineup with some power guys. You've got Jorge Soler, 48 bombs, Dozier, 26 bombs, Whit Merrifield, 300 hitter, Salvador Perez, I get it, below league average, still a guy that can hit for power. One thing that Salvador Perez, he's definitely always been overrated, not a guy that's ever been a guy that's going to take the base on balls. So kind of annoying in that respect. But one thing I respect out of Salvador, when he's healthy, he catches every damn game and he's a great game caller, just like Yadier Molina. When he's behind the plate, he's great for a pitcher. And listen, if Maikel Franco, if he gets back on, man, I mean, this is a guy that when he plays and he's good, he's a little bit above league average. Maybe get a bat in there, but we're not saying here that this is an amazing lineup, but it's just a lineup that if it gets going, Merrifield, Soler, Dozier, maybe if two other guys get going, you could have 5 bats in this lineup that are a threat.
Yeah, and then too, I was looking at. I forgot to talk about Matt Reynolds. You signed him a minor league deal, but he's a guy too that's been around a long enough time where you can place him in and be a role guy.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too with when teams that are trying to get back on. This team won a World Series in 15. You look at where can you get this lineup back on track? Adding utility guys who have been there, veterans that are going to really get these young guys into shape. You look at Franco, you look at Nicky Lopez, young guys really learn a lot from these older guys and that have really know the philosophy, know how to win, and know what it takes. So I like the signing of Matt Reynolds, and really could be a quiet piece to really kind of bolster this roster together. So like I said, this lineup, 1 through 9, decent enough, can really, get you some production and, not as bad as people really think.
Yeah, and so now we move on to this starting rotation, and it's an interesting one. It's not the best ever. So you look at it, Danny Duffy, part of these World Series teams. He's 31 years old now, pretty tough to believe. 23 games started, 130 and 2/3 innings, 4.34 ERA, 4.78 FIP. Walks are a little high at 3 game. Home runs are a little high at 1.45 per game. But Danny Duffy, he's been around the league. He can maybe rebound. Brad Keller, this is a dude, 24 years old, 28 games started, 165 and a third. He might even be better than Danny Duffy, but because of experience, we put Duffy in the number 1 spot, 4.35 FIP. This is what I really like, 0.82 home runs per 9. Really like that for Keller, but he's got to get his walks down. They're almost at 4 per game at 3.8. Jacob Junis, 3 spot, 31 games started, 175 and a third innings, 5.24 ERA. This is a guy, FIP a little bit lower at 4.82. That's optimistic. But 3 through 5 in this rotation, Mike Montgomery, Jorge Lopez struggled a lot. They kind of need some help with the starting rotation.
Yeah, it's not one that really catches your eye, and I've seen that from quite a few teams. You look at guys like the Pirates, and we've done the Colorado already, and they're kind of in the same category with them. They really need some help in the pitching department. That's where they really get hurt in trying to win ball games is, they have a good lineup 1 through 8 and 9, can score you runs, but like I said, if you can't keep guys off the base paths, you can't keep runners from scoring, it's hard to win in the major leagues when you're giving up so many runs. And I look at their ERAs, they're not quite high for your 1-2 guys, but then you go look at 3, 4, 5, you're upwards of a 5.2 ERA. Danny Duffy, can he bounce back? I look at him in 2016 and in 17, he was averaging about almost 10 wins a season. 2016 had a great year, 12-3 with 3.51 ERA. Can you get guys like Duffy to bounce back? If he can piece together and ride the ship a little bit, you're in good hands there. I like Brad Keller a lot, 24-year-old. I told you that he gets my edge over Duffy in the 1 spot just because of the youth he has, can carry more innings, keeps the home run ball down, doesn't let the ball leave the park a whole lot. Walks are a little bit high, but that comes with gaining more experience, working the zone a little bit better. But definitely in the 1-2 spot, you're not in bad shape, but you're just gonna have to find some consistency in the 4-5 spots if you want to get more wins than you wanted to last year and improve just a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they definitely do. And do they have any help coming? You look at this prospect system, number 14 in the big leagues according to our guest system. They have number 10 shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. He was the number 2 overall pick in 19. But you look at the pitchers that are coming, and by the way, Bobby Witt Jr. 19 years old. But Brady Singer, kind of the closest pitcher on the way, number 59 overall prospect right now, 3.47 ERA in 90 and two-thirds innings, 23 years old. I look at it, man, if you're 23, you're still in the minors, you pitch that many innings, your ERA is that effective, why not just put him in the big leagues? I don't understand why some of these teams that are at these low points in their seasons, fourth or fifth place teams, why are you waiting for the guys to get to 24, 25 years old? Just call them up now.
Yeah, and one thing too that catches my eye with Singer too is he's a guy who played for the University of Florida for
Yeah.
quite a long for his whole college career. So you're looking at people like that. So you draft a guy out of college who's shown he can play SEC baseball with one of the best programs, in all of college baseball, dominated. You draft him. He's 23 years old. Why not call him up and let him see what he's got? You're not contending right now. You're trying to get back to that contending mark. And if you're letting guys like Singer sit down in the minor leagues, what good is that to you? Yeah, you can develop him as much as you want, but every year you get older, it's another year taken off of your lifespan in the major leagues. So I look at a guy like Brady Singer, just call him up, let him pitch, and just let it go. And coaches will tell you that. Scouts will say that. Just let him go. See what he's got. If he struggles, he struggles. Let him work through it. And letting him sit in the minors is doing this team no good. And with the team that really needs pitching help, call him up, see what he has, and maybe throw him into a 5 spot and give him a few starts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Brady Singer's a guy. I remember when he got drafted. This is a guy that's been hyped since he got drafted, and he's got good stuff. Just sitting there, it's just this like league wide thing where, and baseball's unlike any other sport with this. They make them kind of go through every minor league level, and you look at the NFL. They go from college to the NFL, NBA, college, maybe some G League time, but usually straight to the NBA. Baseball, they're like, oh, nope, you got to go through the Gulf Coast, single A plus, double A, triple A. It's like, no, no, no. If you can pitch and you've shown it, just throw them in the big leagues.
Yeah, and that's where I think some teams are starting to kind of catch on to that trend. It's like you look at everyone gets all hyped for the draft, and it's like I'm the same way. I love seeing guys get drafted. It's great to see like guys out of college go, but then you sit in the back of your mind, you're like, shit. Well, he's got 4 years of development he's got to go through before I see this guy play.
Yeah.
That's 4 years of my life. I can't see this guy play baseball until with my team until this time. So I think teams are really starting to catch on to, hey, we're going to throw him to Double A early in his career, let him work out, through in the middle of the system. And if he's doing good, we call him up. If not, he's going to stay in Double A and keep working on it. More teams are doing that. I think it's a great idea. You don't have to go through every single system, A, Double A, High A, whatever it is. How many 20 leagues they have, just let him play. And that's the best way to do it, is throw him in the major leagues and see what he has. That's the best way you can learn. And yes, there's guys that have been in the minors for a long time, but you really got to get some of these guys up and going as soon as you can.
Yeah, and they also have number 61 prospect left-handed pitcher David Lynch, 23 years old in single A. I mean, if you're 23 in single A, you're a top 100 prospect. You've got to be higher than that.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because, like, if you're 23 years old in A-ball, something's not going right. Something isn't clicking. And most of the time, you never really find out what happens. And when these guys pan out, they just fall off the face of the earth. You never see from them. You never hear from them. They just get washed, get sent to another team, and you never see them ever again. But if you're that old and in A-ball, usually it means the game isn't clicking for you. You're struggling in some aspect of the game, and it's unfortunate to see that, to be a prospect that high, but you really gotta get going if you're that old and in the farm system still.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it, I mean, I'm looking at him right now, drafted first round 2018 from the University of Virginia. So this is a guy that was in college, so that might be why they're starting him at that age at single A. So maybe he's a guy that might be fast tracked at this point, because I'm reading an article now. They're saying he might be ticketed for Double A to start the season. I'm thinking at least you got to have this guy in the big leagues by 2021 because he'll be 24. You can't really wait past that. Looking at him now, he's 6'6" as well. So this is a big lefty if he can pan out.
Yeah, especially being that big and on the left-handed side, those guys are hard to come by nowadays. And
Yeah.
a guy who can throw the ball really, you can throw the ball really hard and like kind of like a Josh Hader, like getting guys like that, and they're hard to come by. They're diamonds that you find in the rough, and really it's hard to come by. But you know, him out of University of Virginia too. But I look at guys that came out of college that was Singer. And if you're playing ACC ball, you're playing the best baseball, and to do that for 3 or 4 years, and yeah, you can be fast tracked if you're playing that high of college baseball for a while. So yeah, he gets up to Double A. We'll see. Hopefully his development rolls through this year, but a guy that can really lean on if he starts to pick up his game.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the scarcity of left-handed pitchers that are tall. Clayton Kershaw 6'4", David Price 6'5". There's and Chris Sale 6'6". I mean, those are the guys off the top of my head that are that tall, and there's really not that many other guys. So very rare element to find for sure. So we look at this bullpen now. Not the best. I mean, they've got Zimmer, Jesse Hahn they re-signed, Tim Hill, Greg Holland if he can pan out, Scott Barlow, decent, Ian Kennedy, former starting pitcher. Now they move him to the closer role. Not the best bullpen at all, but if you look at this team and we're talking about them moving forward, I just look at it this way. You look at your minor league system, you have one guy coming offensively. That's Bobby Witt Jr. It's a shortstop. If I'm them, if Mondesi has a good season, I'm looking to possibly trade him, so that I can get Bobby Witt in there at that shortstop role. Or maybe you're thinking we put Witt at third base. But if I'm the Royals front office here, you've got to be looking at who do we trade, because you've got to find something for the future. They don't have very much coming. Number 14 system, so they're right in the middle of the pack. That's what this Royals organization has to look at moving forward. What are we looking at? What's this core going to be 4 or 5 years down the road?
Yeah, exactly. And you look at guys, I said, Alex Gordon, Salvador Perez,
Yeah,
a guy who people, yeah, they're old. They're about to really kind of, shuffle their way out and maybe find their home here. But a guy like Perez, a lot of people rave about. And I think, like I said, I like his play behind the dish. He can throw guys out, has a strong enough arm when he's healthy. At the plate, kind of underwhelmed. But a guy you can really probably get pieces for, trade him, get some things. Like I said, bolster your core for the next couple of years. Get pitching. You have pitching coming in the minor leagues. So you have some help there. But offensively, if you want a core to get you back to where you were in 15, 16, contending for division titles, contending for World Series, you name it, you need a core offense. You can't have guys, shuffled around constantly. And they're not a bad team. They're a really, storied organization that can really win games. So look for that. Get some core pieces out of Kansas City and try to get something in return and get some good prospects or get some major league guys ready to build this lineup.
Yeah, and this is a team that like others, like the Giants, like the Phillies, you just got to go through these bad patches after you win a championship or go on championship runs, especially when you're like the Royals and you don't have money to sign your guys. They had to let Hosmer, Moustakas, and Kane all walk because they couldn't pay any of them. So it's just tough for these types of organizations that once you win, it's going to end pretty quickly after that. I mean, this team went 30 years without winning a championship, and I believe that they went a pretty long time without even making the postseason. So hopefully it's not as long of a dark period for them because they do have some stuff coming, but at least you can say, you know what, they won a World Series a little bit ago, and you can't feel too terrible for that organization at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Like most teams, their whole your organization goal is to win a World Series at the end of the day, and you got it. You got there, and you were able to win one. I believe they lost the Giants one year, and they were able to bounce back, and they won it. It was 15.
Yeah,
15 exactly. So you went through a patch there where you were really struggling. The city that was really hungry to win a championship got it done, and obviously you're going to see a drop off there. You're going to go through some tough times, but said most teams don't have a ring, and that's their whole lifelong dream is to get one. And once you get it as a fan, as a player, whatever you are, you're gonna go through some trials and tribulations after you win, and guys naturally leave, and you're gonna trade away key pieces. So they're not on a bad path. They really have a good organization, good ownership that will get them back on track to win again.
Yeah, and so since we didn't do this at the end of last episode, we'll do it here. So where do you have the Tigers and the Royals finishing at the bottom of this division?
I have the Tigers improving from last year. I have them leapfrog Kansas City. I have Kansas City in the bottom hole right now, just because their pitching isn't quite up to speed with the Tigers. I think the Tigers give them in that aspect. The Tigers have a little bit better of a lineup. Kansas City is really going to be fishing for starting pitching, and that's going to hurt them this year. I think the amount of one-run games the Tigers lost last year, close ones, I think they do end up getting ahead of Kansas City, winning about 65, 68 games.
I'm actually with you 100% because it's like that you just what you said. It's just the lineup probably right there with KC, but the pitching, even though it's not great, it's better than the Royals. Top to bottom, bullpen too. The Tigers, even though it's slight, it is better. And like you said, those one-run games. So both of us have Royals in fourth, Tigers in fifth. In terms of the off-season grades, I would just say Tigers, I guess you can give them like a B, because you say, you know what, at least they're not sitting there saying we're waving the white flag from day one. They picked up some vets, Maben, Crone, Scope, and Romine, and they're like, we're not giving up here. We'll at least try to field a team here. I'd give the Tigers a B and probably just give the Royals a C or a D. They didn't do much. Can't really grade the Royals because they didn't really do anything. What about your grades for both of these teams?
Yeah, I agree with that. For the Tigers, give them a B, just because like I said, you didn't wave the white flag. And that goes along with your head coaching. Gardenhire being in the league a long time, he's not going to want to get embarrassed again, having a really bad year last year.
Hey, remember all the ejections he had? He led the league in ejections.
I think he was like, I'm going to get the hell out of here. I can't watch this team. So, that goes hand in hand. They got guys and veterans to really field a team, try to win more games, put a competitive team out there. They were competitive last year, didn't show on the score sheet and the record books but Kansas City, you did a C. I give them a C too. We just, kind of stayed pedestrian all offseason, didn't do a whole lot to improve or really get worse. They kind of just stayed home. So, right there, you added Greg Holland too, but he's just, will he ever be the same? That's your biggest question. But really teams that just didn't do a whole lot, but are just trying to fight to stay and improve throughout the year.
Yeah, and the Royals also have new ownership as well, so it's a new direction for them. We didn't mention that. Sherman bought them last year. John Sherman, he's the new chairman and CEO of the Royals, and so he's one of the new 22 investors for them. David Glass was their last owner, so maybe you could even see some more financial flexibility for the Royals as we move forward. I'm not in the bank accounts of Sherman, obviously, but Glass was pretty much known for not spending any money whatsoever. So hopefully Sherman can come in here and at least say, yeah, we can be like the Orioles where they can afford like a Chris Davis level contract, or like the Padres to where they can afford one $300 million Machado contract. If the Royals can at least have flexibility for that, hey, maybe lure a free agent one day to that organization.
Yeah, exactly. You talk about baseball, it's all money. To compete, you got to be able to go spend and get a couple guys and really lock them down for the long term. And the team, the Royals, trying to get that offensive core, trying to get that team into nine, you're going to need guys on long-term deals that are going to want to stay in the organization 5-6 years, really kind of stay there while they build around them, get some young guys through the system. Boom, you're there. So we'll see with this new ownership and spend a little bit of money. You'll be surprised where you can take a team in a quick turnaround and in a quick fashion.
Yep, absolutely. So that'll do it for this Kansas City Royals podcast. And I believe last night you guys got our NFL draft pod. We'll be coming out with a post-draft pod soon. FAU athletics pod next week. We'll have NBA, NHL stuff coming back soon as well. And then tomorrow you're going to get our Chicago White Sox 2020 season preview. So for this podcast, for Stephen Cash, and I'm Jacob Brown, and we will see you next time.